The second dish of this demonstration is called Cottage Pie. We do start off rather as we did with the other one, and that is at the cooker with some dripping already in a pan and 1 onion. But this time the onion has been chopped finely because we're wanting it to cook really quickly. Now, 1 small onion should be enough, but again, if your family do like a lot of flavour, then by all means put in a little more. The hot plate should be fairly high for this to make sure that the onion does cook quickly. And as soon as it starts to brown and colour a little bit, then the flour can be added. And weigh out 1 ounce of flour for this. Make sure that you have got the ounce, that's 1 rounded tablespoonful, so that you get the correct consistency in the gravy. Now you can tip the flour straight in. Again, it's plain flour to make sure that it doesn't go lumpy in the sauce. And stir it round until it begins to get frothy and bubbles in the bottom of the pan. And of course at the same time it will be taking up the dripping or the lard that was melted there in the first place. I should start to get a good savoury smell, as you always do when you're frying onions, and I think that's part of the temptation sometimes, don't you? A good tasty smell which pervades the kitchen, not the whole house, but certainly the kitchen. So many recipes say add stock or water, and I think in most cases whoever writes the recipes will be hoping that you use stock and not water because of the goodness and the flavour that you're going to add. But so many of us are terribly busy these days, not only in the home but outside as well. We don't have time to make stock for ourselves. And one good thing, we don't need to, because we can buy it in a can. Now I'm going to use the can of Heinz Beef Broth. That's a good sizzle because there's plenty of heat here in the pan. And I've used the beef broth not only for the broth but for the vegetables that are in the can as well. There's a good helping of vegetables here, mixed ones. The label on the can will tell you which ones are in, and pearl barley as well. So the barley in particular is going to add to the goodness of the dish as well as the beef broth. I'll just have to stand over this for a minute at the cooker, stirring it all the time because it's thickening with the flour in it, and we don't want it to thicken at the bottom of the pan and leave it fairly liquid on the top. But as soon as it begins to bubble, then it's quite ready for you to take it away and put in the other ingredients. It so happens that the beef broth itself has quite a good dark brown colour, but so often a gravy is improved if we do add gravy browning to it. And I'm quite sure that all good cooks should keep a jar of Heinz gravy browning on the larder shelves because it just makes all the difference to the finished dish. Now just a drop will be ample because it's rather like colouring that you put into icing. You know, it does colour very, very quickly, so use it carefully. Now, I haven't done it there, but it's always worthwhile just wiping around the top of the jar before you put the top on because it is inclined to stick when you don't do that. So just one word of warning about it. You can probably see into the saucepan a good brown colour in the gravy, the sort of gravy that looks tempting even before the other ingredients are added. We're going to use some minced beef today, presuming it might have been left over from the Sunday joint or the Tuesday joint, whichever it happened to be. Any meat could be used that you happen to have in the house, but if you use lamb or mutton, then you must call it shepherd's pie and not cottage pie. That's the old tradition, and I think we rather like to stick to old traditions, although there are such a lot of changes in cookery today. There's the mixture, and I think at home we always like to taste it at that stage to make sure you have got plenty of seasoning in. Add more by all means if it's necessary, but I don't think it will be because we add then a 15-ounce can of Heinz baked beans. Those have a good tomato flavour, and certainly they will add to the flavour of the cottage pie. If you like, that's the secret of it, of course using the beef broth as well. Those are stirred in, mixed thoroughly, and have ready your pie dish or casserole that you're going to use. You'll find that even with 8 ounces of meat, this has made a really good quantity. You wouldn't say that 8 ounces of meat was an awful lot, really, would you? But certainly with the other ingredients going into it, it does become plenty. Just spread it round in the dish Make sure the saucepan's pretty clean, and then that's all ready except for the mashed potato that goes on the top of it. Now, the potatoes have been cooked already, and those are here, just keeping warm on the stove. Now, I did measure out the potatoes for this, just as we measured out the flour for the sauce, to be sure that we had the right quantity. So it's 1.5 pounds of potato, weighed after they've been peeled. I think it's a rather good habit to get into, to weigh ingredients. It's not always necessary, but sometimes it's all the difference between success and not quite success. The potatoes will have a good flavour all their own, but it's worthwhile, I think, adding something else to them just to make a change. And we're going to use some Heinz tomato ketchup. And the quantity for 1.5 pounds of potato will be just about 2 tablespoons full. Now, I'm trying to do this very carefully, not to have the tomato jumping out. But don't worry, if it does jump out, it does to me sometimes, a little extra won't hurt in this particular case. We're not going to stir tomato ketchup in very thoroughly, but only lightly, so that when it's piped over the pie, it will have a rather speckled effect, and you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. The piping bag here is all ready with the vegetable pipe in at the end, and I've chosen a rose one because it does make quite a nice pattern when the potato is finally piped. It's worthwhile folding the top of the bag down so that you do get the potato going as far down as possible into the bag. It's much quicker than having too much potato at the top, and it's inclined to jump out of the top instead of the bottom, of course. But give a good shake each time to make sure that it does go right down. Now, the piping bag can be used for all sorts of cookery, not only for potato in this case, but for eclairs and other biscuit mixtures, which I think we all like to try from time to time. Push the potato right down, give it a really good squeeze, one good turn, and it's ready to be piped on top of the meat here. You can pipe this in all sorts of different patterns. This is just a wavy line one, which I think is quite effective. I think certainly it's more effective than just forking the potato over the top, which is quick and easy, but doesn't have quite the professional finish. And of course it gives you an opportunity to practice piping. If you're interested in sugar icing, this is a very good way to practice. And can you just see the speckled effect from the tomato ketchup? Just makes a little variation, which I think the family might appreciate. To make sure that this does get a good finish to it when it's in the oven, we'll brush over the top lightly with melted butter. These particular pastry brushes are quite good for this kind of topping because they're very soft and pliable, and they don't take out the nice ridges that you've taken so much trouble to put in. The oven has been on at 400 degrees for the liver casserole, and that's the right temperature too for the cottage pie. It does take 25 minutes to warm through, only to warm, of course. It doesn't need to cook. And to be sure that you could see the finished article, we did have one in the oven already. So we'll have this one ready to put in and take out the one that has been cooking for us, or warming through rather. Oh, I wonder where it is.
Yeah, to be honest.
So that's what's been going on behind my back. At least you can all see how tasty it is.
That's right, my darling. You teach them how to cook them and I'll eat them.